United 3 points clear of Liverpool. Of course, the two sides will meet at Anfield on Sundays. Both managers speaking in the build-up to this one. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had this to say about his team's chances of winning Sunday. If you look at the last few seasons, it would be an upset. It would be a shock. We're looking forward to the game, and hopefully we can cause that upset. Craig, what do you say? Would it be a shock if, as the Manchester United manager suggests, the league leaders won on Sunday?
Not really, no. And once again, he's talking nonsense. If you look at the last 2 or 3 seasons, then yeah, he's correct, because they left United, both City and Liverpool left United and the rest, and their tailwind behind them. So, but we're not talking about the last 3 years. We're talking about this season, where the only reason that Man United and anybody else is in with a shout at winning this league is because so far Liverpool and City have fallen below the standards that they've set. And so for that reason, it would not be an upset, particularly when you look at the way Liverpool have been playing. Yeah, I mean, the home form's been good. Undefeated at home, I think 1 draw. Away form's been shoddy. So it wouldn't be a surprise, and he knows that, and that's just rhetoric from him.
From the Liverpool perspective, Stevie, what scares you about Manchester United?
Well, clearly going forward, Rashford and Fernandes, because it seems a little harsh, but without those two, this is a completely different Manchester United. And so, quite honestly, Liverpool's thoughts will be more on what they can do to get better, i.e. scoring goals and making chances and getting the front three back to where they should be. And, of course, the obvious problem of what happens defensively. You know, who are the centre-backs? So I think Liverpool's thoughts are going to be more about how do they cover up the deficiencies and how do they get better going forward, as opposed to Manchester United, because it's pretty clear this game's going to be played. Liverpool going forward and United using their pace against 2 midfielders, which I think will be playing centre-back for Liverpool. Interesting
as we look at the recent results for these two teams in the Premier League. Liverpool struggling, Manchester United rolling, 11 unbeaten for United. Robbo, they say in big matches you can throw form out the window, but if we were picking a favourite based on form, it'd be United, wouldn't it?
It would, and I'll go with Stevie's point about the centre-halves for Liverpool. That's a big worry for me, from Liverpool's point of view. If Rashford makes runs behind, and that's the key to it, Rashford making runs behind, whoever's playing up front with him making runs behind, Bruno Fernandes getting on the ball and playing them in behind, because whenever I've seen Liverpool this season, they're trying to hold this high line, and if you're not playing with the same centre-halves week in, week out, they don't have an understanding. I saw that when a young kid ran past them in the Aston Villa Cup game last week, when Fabinho wasn't round on the cover and the young centre-half didn't deal with it properly. And the right-back's a problem. He's great going forward, but he can't defend at the moment. Whoever's playing at right back can't defend. So they're the areas that Manchester United can break Liverpool down. But of course, Liverpool have got those attacking three. If they play at their very best, you can see them causing Manchester United problems.
Frank, how big are the concerns at the back for Liverpool?
They're huge. I mean, the loss of Van Dijk, of course. We don't know if Matip will be back. We know that on the right side, they don't really know how to defend. So there is options for Manchester United, who, as Stevie and Robos just said, they're going to play in counter-attack. So they're going to find open spaces. And if on the right side they don't defend properly, if they're not secure as centre-halves, it's going to be a problem for Liverpool. But Liverpool will have to get the ball because they are the best when they have the ball. But it will be very interesting because tactically we all know that Manchester United is looking forward to seeing Liverpool getting the ball and counter-attack them. So, I don't know who's going to be the winner. It's going to be an interesting game. Hopefully a good game to watch.
You know, there's one huge thing in Manchester United's favour. There's no crowd. Listen, Manchester United, over the last decade, as much as I can remember, have pretty much bottled it every time they've got to Anfield. You know, the atmosphere at Anfield is completely different to anything else that a Manchester United player faces anywhere in the world. I mean, the vitriol is just incredible. And Craig will know all about that with Celtic and Rangers. That is not going to be there. That's not going to be something that Manchester United are going to have to beat. And so, if ever they're going to win a game at Anfield, it's going to be on Sunday, and a lot of it will have to do because there's no crowd there.
Craig, you've been adamant that for you, City and Liverpool are the favourites to win the Premier League in the end. Would a United victory on Sunday change that for you?
Oh my God, we love short-termism in this programme, don't we? We love.
They'd be 6 points clear of Liverpool halfway through the season. That's not nothing.
Well, you're discounting Manchester City. You may have seen them recently. They've been pretty good with a deleted squad and no striker. We got to put this day-to-day, 24-hour, analysis behind us, because I'm not going to come on this programme every week and have a discussion about, are you, day-to-day, was you wrong about Ollie? Are Man United favourites to win the league? No, they are not. Now, they may win this game, but they're not, in my opinion. They might be in other people's opinion, but I've continually stressed the two best teams in the league are Manchester City and Liverpool. Now, you may have seen City take apart Chelsea and United recently. Now, the other side of the coin with Liverpool is, I think Klopp's going to put a marker down with this moaning and groaning. He's moaned about the penalties. He's moaned about this, that and the next thing. I know they've got injuries, and it's not just Fabinho going back into the centre-half position that's a problem. It's a problem taking him out of the middle of the park. Do they bring Thiago back in? The other side of the coin is, and Stevie talked about it over the last week or two, is the blunt attack. Now, Firmino's got 3 goals in the Premier League, I think, or 5 goals, whatever it is. It's not good enough. Now, I know he's got other facets to his game, but he needs to roll his sleeves up. And on top of that, if you look at the midfield, that's another issue for them, because when your strikers are not performing, you've got to get goals from the middle of the park. And I know Thiago's had his injuries. I know Henderson's a defensive midfield. I think he's got 1. You've got Gini Wijnaldum with 1. And young Curtis Jones, who's been excellent and has had rave reviews, hasn't been on the score sheet yet. And so you need to get, when your front line are not operating as they were, you need to get a support network from the middle of the park. And that's one of the reasons that Liverpool have been flagging at times, is they've looked too hard to Salah, Sadio Mane and Roberto Firmino. They're going to have to get goals from the middle of the park. Gini Wijnaldum, we know, can be a threat, but it's been very sporadic for him this year. But, this game could go anyway, Seb, but I'm not, we got to quit this nonsense about every time I come on this programme are Man United favourites to win the league. Because my answer's going to be the same up until almost the end of the season if they're sitting at the top of the league, and then I might change my mind.
Stevie?
I think the answer to, Manchester United winning the Premier League and asking people about that now, if you want to look, Craig's talking about looking short term. Let's look at the long term. The long term is there's half a season to go, and I don't think, and I know a lot of people don't think, Manchester United can get any better than they are now. But I'll tell you what, there are 2 teams who 100%...
Why is that? Just down to the players?
Who 100% can get better as a team, and that is City and Liverpool. Well, Craig's talking. We're talking about Liverpool not having the centre backs. We're talking about the struggling to score goals. By the way, they're only 3 points behind, right? They're sitting second, and they've got another gear to go, as have Manchester City. So to say that United are favourites to win the league isn't true, because there's 2 other sides who we know will get better, and we know they can get better, whereas United, I think what we're seeing from United is what they are. They ain't getting any better.
Craig mentioned the constant discussion around penalties recently, starting with Jurgen Klopp, of course, talking about the amount of penalties Manchester United has gotten compared to Liverpool. Here you see the statistics. As far as an explanation, we may have gotten one from Marcus Rashford, who said here, I remember when Jose was manager, there were 5 or 6 times where I should have had a penalty, and Jose ended up saying to me, if you are not savvy about the way you do it, then they are not going to give it. After that, we started to get a few penalties. Frank, no surprise, it was Jose Mourinho who showed United how to get all the pens, huh?
Of course, but he's clever. I mean, I wouldn't say savvy, I would say smarter, in a way that honesty doesn't pay in a football world. You know that if you stay up, the referee will think that, in fact, it wasn't really a foul on you. But if you exaggerate, the referee might see, but will think as well that it was maybe a real foul. So he will consider the foul and the dive and maybe give you a penalty. That's sad in a way, but it's what it is. And the reality of that world And it's why we see lots of forward players diving. It's always been like that. I played with Casiraghi, but I played against Casiraghi when he was playing for Italy, and I saw him diving without even touching him. And I clapped him and I said, well done, nice dive, you know. I didn't even, but the referee gave him a free kick. And he was 1 yard away from me. He always existed. We always existed, that kind of behavior. And it pays off because referee don't want to see a foul if the players make the effort to stay up.
Robbo, Klopp's clearly not talking about the penalties and counting them on his fingers for no reason. Do you have any problem with him trying to influence the officials perhaps before a big match?
I've got no problem in trying to influence the referee. I've got a problem with him whinging and moaning all the time about all the things that are going on. He's got to concentrate on his team. And he reminds me very much at the moment of a former Arsenal manager that when things were, when he was under a little bit of pressure, started moaning about this, that and the other and put more pressure on the players to a certain degree. At the moment, I don't think he's coping very well with the pressure. And that then rubs off onto the players. And that's why I don't think they're performing very well at the moment in the front areas. I think he's got to sort himself out and become the manager and the coach that he's been for the last 2.5 years, which is brilliant. Now he's just, I think he's going off the boil slightly.
But Craig, he says he's not Sir Alex Ferguson. He can't play mind games. What do we make of it?
I don't know really. I don't really care, to be honest. I'm only interested in what happens on the field, and you know, we have VAR. If players are going to ground a little bit easier on both sides, the difficulty is with the penalty thing is that if players are going to ground a little bit easier and it goes to VAR, then if there's any kind of contact at all, if the referee's given a penalty, they probably won't reverse it because they'll go down this nonsensical, clear and obvious route. And then it's just a debate for another, 7 days or 14 days. So, you can be quite clever about it. Look, Jurgen, as Robbo said, Jurgen Klopp has more than proved himself as a manager. This is a really tricky season for Liverpool as champions for the first time in years. They have Man City, who are getting stronger and stronger and who've coped with a COVID problem at the club, self-inflicted some of it, and without a major striker. They've coped with a United side who have got better. There's no doubt about that. And are a threat, as Stevie said, particularly with Rashford and Fernandes. And he's got to cope without his best player, who's been out injured since almost the start of the season. And so he's got to have to find a way. And that's what really good coaches do. And look, there'll be incidents between now and end of the season where we'll debate if it was a free kick or a penalty or who got what. But ultimately, the league title will come down to who's been the most consistent team. And if that's United, then fine. But I think at the moment, Liverpool, as Stevie said, can improve and need to improve. And City look as if they've got a real head of steam going. So it swings two ways here. If Liverpool give them a going over at the weekend, and they've already had a going over this season by City, they've had a going over by Tottenham. They haven't beaten any of the real big boys this season in the Premier League. And so they've got to put a marker down in some sense. They've gone away and whipped the backsides of most of the other teams in the Premier League, but they haven't beat anybody in the league, I don't believe, in and around them. So there's some pressure on Man United as well to show that they are the real deal.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.